Good Monday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the YouTube channel that talks about the cars and trucks and motorcycles, and it stands for Internal Combustion Engine Age, which the EV age wants us to go away. And yeah, I talk about all my dogs and daughter and motorcycles and all that good stuff. And morning there, good Monday morning. And got my Indian hat on, riding the Indian yesterday, and wow, what a beautiful Monday morning. Even though it's supposed to be very hot by the end of the day, but wow, I just can't get grass. My property is green as all can be. I cannot cut grass fast enough to stay on top of it, but yet when you ride around on a motorcycle in other parts of Virginia, they've got a drought. Yeah, that southern area, Front Royal, Washington County, Amosville, I don't know, all these different counties south of me. Yesterday we were riding up there in the Skyline Ridge, Blue Ridge Mountains, and Blue Ridge Parkway. What do you want to call it? I don't know. It's all befuddling sometimes, so many different names. But the whole point is, you can see it's very dry. Come on, pups. Come on, pups. Yeah, and so it's the Monday morning conversations. What are we talking about today? And I thought to myself, if you look around my property, if you watch my channel and watch me walk out the door, and all the new vehicles I have, I mean, does anybody here sincerely think that I buy these cars outright? Do you think I'm that rich a person that I can afford just to pay right out the door $80,000 for the Jeep Grand Cherokee, $100,000 for the Wagoneer, $50,000 for the Mustang, $50,000 for that truck, $50,000 for that, $50 for that, $100 for that, $70 for that, $100 for that, $90 for that, $100 for that. You just start adding up all of my vehicles, and they're not even all here. Come on, pups. I've got 3 more down in Tennessee. Come on, puppies. Let's go. Get in. Come on. And then you go to my motorcycles. Yeah, thanks. That I have that type of wealth. Yeah, that's not my story. My story is, it's called the banks treat me okay, and they let me buy things and then make payments. And I thought to myself, wow, what could be the conversation today, besides ongoing motorcycles, which we got to talk about that, is the payments. Where we are in this country with payments. Apparently, we're in trillions of dollars. The consumers are into trillions of dollars in credit card debt at the highest level yet ever. So anyways, before we get into all that, the Indy motorcycle and Harley Davidson motorcycle, and how, wow, that Harley Davidson Road Glide is kind of getting me to change my opinion of how I've always thought that Indian is the better bike. I don't know. After riding yesterday, I'm starting to really love this bike even more, which that's, for me, being Indians ruined my CVOs. Come on, pups. And yep, here's the collection of all the bikes that sit more than they get ridden. Yeah, who knows those stories? But there's many more people out there in this world than me that have a ton of wealth. Come on, get up there. And they got many more toys than me. So, yeah, so for me, the Indian motorcycle, back in 2019, September, I bought a Roadmaster. So it's the same bike as this, but it has a tour pack in the back of the bike. So I traded that for the Challenger that I bought last year, that Challenger Elite last June, even though that was a hard decision. But the whole point is, the Indian product totally turned me off on the CVO product line. I felt like, so if you look at the previous generation CVO back here in the dark, so this is what I had a 2018, not a 2020, Dark Horse CVO, and I had a CVO Limited. And when I bought that Indian, it totally transformed my fun factor of the Harley product. That it really, I sold all my Harleys. I parted with most of my Harley Davidsons because the Indian I felt was the far superior, better product. Well, now I don't know. This new CVO Road Glide, I kind of regret now not taking this to car meet yesterday, because I really never thought we'd go do that big long ride if you watch my video. And I really do wish now I would have ridden this, just because this bike is in so many ways more comfortable now than the Indian. Even for me, I'm surprised to say that. This 12-inch windscreen really keeps all the air off my face. And this does give you air still capability. You get a lot of air up here. And the way the handlebars set and your body posture. And this here, even with this windscreen all the way up, I still get a lot of buffer on my helmet and some air in my face. And the way the handlebars are laid out, it's not as comfortable. My hands numerous times kind of get numb. As you kind of get older, there's a lot of debate on how you hold your arm position on a motorcycle if you get the right blood flow. And so that, and then just this motorcycle here, the confidence on this bike, because the way they've redesigned it, and here's a huge thing right here, the inverted forks. So this motorcycle here has the inverted forks. This motorcycle here doesn't have the inverted forks. Now some people would say, well, you should have the Challenger to really be comparing, and I agree. But here's the thing, on the Dodge Challenger, the Indian Challenger, one thing that's big time different, it's a totally liquid cooled motor. It's not your V-twin motor. I mean, so the Challenger, in some aspects, it's kind of in like the Honda territory, in the Jap bikes, whatever you want to call them. The design of that motor, is more so much like that motor. So the Challenger, in some ways, to me, is it really head to head with the Harley product on some of the design of that bike? And yeah, the Challenger Elite that I own, yes, I mean, there's no doubt that Challenger Elite is the more refined bike, and I've talked about that. But if you really compare the V-twin cooled motor to the V-twin cooled motor setup, you roll the big difference here if you think about it. If this had a bat wing on it, and that's what's interesting, is for Indian, they went with the bat. They put it with the Shark. They call this like the Shark fairing. It's the fixed fairing, and the way it looks, the Shark look, the teeth. Put some little drawings up here. You think you got a shark nose because it's a fixed fairing. So if Indian would have done what Harley does, is all Harley is doing is they've got a CVO Street Glide and a Road Glide. Well, everybody knows the Street Glide is the fixed, the bat wing that's attached to the handlebars. Yeah, I need my coffee. I'm kind of like, it's Monday morning. So the whole front here moves when you turn the handlebars. This doesn't move. This stays fixed. So you think about it, Harley's riding off of production of keeping things more simple, where you just throw a different front end here and you can have a choice. Indian, they went a whole different direction. They designed a whole different bike. It's a whole different motorcycle from this motorcycle. So in so many aspects, can you really compare the two? So, but anyways, the point is, this morning, wear the Indian hat. I mean, do I take off my hat with my going bald, and do I say that the Harley hat should be the hat I'm wearing? Because I really think that this is the winner. Yeah, even for me. And what I also like here about the controls is your cruise control. So your controls over here are on your left-hand side to move around for your information and everything. On the Indian, your control is over here for your I'm just totally brain dead this morning, for your speed control, cruise control. And so you think it through, you're holding the handle down, and to activate this isn't the easiest when you're doing that. Over here, you got your hand on the right-hand side, you've got the gas on the bike, and then over here, you can set what you want to do. So it's a little better, I think, better on the controls. And yeah, I think the analog, gauges are nicer. So I talked a lot about that. But here's what I'm trying to kind of sum up here is, wow, I think I would have had more fun yesterday and a little bit more comfortable riding my Road Glide CVO. I just really I think I'm just evolving to, I've had so many Batwing bikes, I'm just kind of tired of that feel. And I really do like the fixed fairing feel. And even my kid yesterday, she last night was like, Dad, if you want to sell that Super Chief, I'd have no problem with that. She doesn't like the bike. It's just too big a bike. This motorcycle here is just too big. Even though we've gotten the seat that pushes it forward and the controls on the bike, and she's so now has been, I got to turn the light on because these are little things. Ain't out there, mulling over a motorcycle you buy and what you're going to do. And I can only hope my channel, gives you ideas and views. So my kid, I bought her the Harley Davidson Lowrider ST, and that fixed fairing, like the Shark, right up here, this is another fixed fairing bike that keeps so much wind off of her. And I knew this when I kind of got this bike, that once she got a taste of this fairing getting all the wind off your body, it would be a huge change in what she felt like was a fun ride. And yes, that last night she said, Dad, we should have taken the Lowrider ST and the CVO Road Glide yesterday, because that wind in my face and that wind on my body really wore me out yesterday, and it just wasn't comfortable. And then the Indian has a further reach for her versus like here. So you look at the Harley, look how close that shifter is to the foot, okay? I mean, my foot here, so she's so easily can shift, up shift, down shift. This bike here, it's a much longer reach for her. So she's like, yeah, so to me, do I sell the Indians? Yeah, part of me is like, yeah, get rid of payments. Even though my Indians are about paid off. The Harleys, those the ones have the heavy debt on them, because I'm the payment guy. I should just call it the payment channel. Tune into my channel, learn how you can make lots of payments on cars and vehicles and never actually own them. And if you had any brains, you'd only have a quarter of all this stuff and everything be paid for outright instantly, because of all the payments you make and everything else. You just own everything else outright because you'd make bigger payments and all those things that you should be paying for. Yeah, do I have those brains? I don't. So let's get up here in the morning. Get up here and get the sit-down conversation. I gotta get my coffee. I can get going. That was pretty exhausting yesterday. That was a lot of riding. Stay there, pups. And let's get upstairs here. Get the day going. Another Monday. As the summer truly is coming to an end for all those people that go to school, college kids, and we're just now weeks away from the public education, local schools start getting back in order. So where's everybody? All right, they're all here. Yeah, it's hot. You can see the dogs. So it's not radically hot. It's kind of beautiful morning, and yeah, let me sit down here. Yeah, that yesterday we were doing the car show. When we do the car meet, we ride on a motorcycle, and then you walk around on a hot parking lot with all your riding gear on, and you talk to everybody, and then for me to then ride all the way out to Front Royal, Virginia. It was a 200 plus mile day. We had a lot of fun, and I ran into people. I mean, ran into a guy that told us where to go to the Patio restaurant down there in Washington. Washington, is that the name of the town? Really well-to-known owner. If you look it up, the Patio, beautiful restaurant, great food, great, just great atmosphere. Yeah, I'm amazed about hacking a coffee, because yeah, it's the Monday morning routine, man. I'm just trying to get going here. So, anyways, yeah, what do you dig up for content? I've been reading a lot of stuff, and at the last second this morning, I thought to myself, I guess the conversations this morning could be about the payments, because what do you hear? What's the majority you start to hear about? People can't afford more expensive housing payments because the higher interest rates. They're really now starting to show that people that sign off all these high car payments, that they're defaulting on them and they can't afford them. And that's what I was kind of thinking to myself this morning is, wow, are we at the highest car payment? We are. We're at the highest car payment in the history of this country right now. And it's incredible. Car prices since the pandemic have gone up an average of 30%. 30%. How is this sustainable? I just think to myself, where is all the money coming? But I tell you what, it's definitely it's. I mean, you hear everybody talk about tomorrow. This is what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know. What I can tell you is I can remember riding my motorcycles in this area on a weekend, and at these breweries and wineries out here where I live, they were packed. I mean, I'm talking about you going to like a football game, and everybody and your brother shows up to go to the football game at the Coliseum, the stadium, whatever it may be. And when I used to ride around, I'm not lying, all these back road, there are so many breweries and wineries in this area. It's crazy. And these places, the fields and the parking lots were packed to the brim. And even some people had to have the police there to get people in and out of these places. Nope. Now you go by these places, and I would say that they're maybe half, if not maybe a third of the parking lot's full. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so what's going on there, right? Yeah, I mean, so right there to me, it's like, well, whereas everybody used to come out to Loudoun County, Virginia, and go winery and brewery hopping. So, so on the payment side, but the whole point of that is you just think to yourself, where is all the money coming from? And everybody just continues to show up to pay the big dollars for all this stuff that's going on. Just like the housing market. Who here didn't just shake their head during the pandemic and just witness the housing market go crazy? And it still is. It still, for the most part, is because there's a shortage of houses as people don't sell them. Why? Because they don't want to get a higher mortgage payment. But at the same time, I see what I saw here this morning is, wow, we probably are at the highest level of payments per se of everything in this country's ever seen. Yeah, I mean, the credit card debt, I just talked about that. That's in the trillions of dollars of debt. You know, who doesn't have an Amazon card? Who doesn't have, the Lowe's card, the Home Depot card, the Target card? The list goes on and on and on. The gas card. Who isn't going out and buying things? And, you just think to yourself, wow. And, don't get me wrong. Don't look at me. I'm not the guy here to preach it. I mean, I'm just sharing with you. Yeah, I've always been on the payment plan my whole life. Yeah, I've always had to borrow money to be able to buy things. Yeah, for the most part, my whole life. That's been my whole story. I would be willing to venture that there's select few here who watch my channel that, they don't do that type of stuff. But I'm just telling you, where would this country be without the payment plan? Yeah, I mean, so it's huge. So, but what really spurred all this payment plan was me reading about how U.S. Steel. It's to me, it's just crazy, and how so many years ago, when the NAFTA deal got signed by Bill Clinton, the North American Free Trade Agreement opened up all the China stuff to begin, and how U.S. Steel went bankrupt. Am I right or wrong in that? I thought our local steel, the domestic steel companies went broke because China was taking away all their business. Well, fast forward. And apparently U.S. Steel is a hot item right now of a company that other companies are trying to buy out. Cleveland Cliffs is another steel company, and Nucor, something like that. There's a lot of steel manufacturing companies now that are very alive in our country and very profitable. And so what the word is on the street is this Inflation Reduction Act that's enticing so many businesses to come set up shop in this country to build batteries and solar panels and cars and semiconductor chips. The steel industry is a hot item because they see that they're going to be the guys supplying the materials for all this new, supposedly green agenda growth that's going to bring jobs and wealth and the better of this country like never ever seen, per se, of the sitting administration and all the green agenda activists. So U.S. Steel is now a $35 stock. And there's this guy, Jim Brouchard, out of Chicago, a young guy, or not a young guy, 62-year-old guy that's on his own, that's trying to buy out U.S. Steel as well. He's had his own steel company, and he's been in the industry his whole life. And so there's a whole article about this unique Chicago boy that came from 7-kid family. He was fifth born, and how his neighbor was some guru, investor, guy that knew how to make money. And this guy, Jim, learned a lot from him. And throughout the years of he actually worked for U.S. Steel for many years. He learned all the ins and outs of the industry, and he now owns his own steel companies, and he's bought many up and sold many. And now he's trying to finagle where he's got like $10 billion of money to be able to buy out. I think it's like a $6 billion deal, and he's got $4 billion in the back end to make it all work or something. I don't know. I could be wrong on those numbers, but the whole point is, so the steel companies in this country are now a very hot commodity, and they see the future being very bright for them because of all the new manufacturing coming to our country. And I think, well, okay, that's great, but then here's a whole other article talking about over there in the Asian countries how the younger generation wants nothing to do with working in factories, and it's a huge challenge. And even in China, there was an article about how China's labor costs have increased by 111% since 2000. So today's China labor is nothing cheap like it used to be. It's still cheap compared to our country. But in the Asian markets, their challenge is the manufacturers see that the younger generation wants nothing to do with being a laborer in a factory. And they're having to entice them by providing nice cafeterias, a nice atmosphere of having their time off when they're idling from their jobs, or they have daycare, and so it's very challenging. So what the message is that the cheap labor is going away, and that was going to be kind of my conversation this morning. Is with cheap. What's cheap? But I've had cheap conversations before. So over in Asia, the big concern of these manufacturing companies is all the cheap labor is disappearing. And the future is going to be much tougher because they're going to have to pay good monies to lure in these younger people to work in these factories. So there's a big concern over there in the Asian markets that their business model of providing cheap, product, cheap labor that enables to have cheap products, meaning less expensive products in the world market, that business model is starting to dry up. And I think to myself, yeah, think about this country here. On the cheap labor, you're not going to find cheap labor in this country. The labor laws won't allow it. I mean, we already have people fighting in the restaurant industry about the new minimum wage has to be like $15, and that's going to go to $20. The McDonald's franchise people are freaking out because of all the people who have to be getting paid all this, big dollar value, and the list goes on and on and on. On the infrastructure of this country is getting ready to transition into big manufacturing again, but the labor costs are going to be through the roof. There's no way you can convince me that this younger generation is going to be wanting to go work in the factory without having huge compensation to justify them having to give up their social lifestyle. Because there's too many people that get to sit at home and sit behind a computer and make their $100,000, $200,000 incomes by pushing keyboard keys. So, and that's why I'm talking about payments. I think, wow, where is the future going of everything being even more expensive? And that's what I think we're getting ready to witness in this country is the resistance of people to work. And that's what's so interesting. The most common statement that I read when people are behind on their car payments and delinquencies is that, oh, but the job market is still strong. And I think to myself, so how is the job market still strong if you have all these people are defaulting on their payments? Is a strong job market mean that everybody's showing up to work for cheap? Is that what that's implying? So you step back and go, this business model isn't working. The automotive industry is abusing the profits never seen ever, because there's a whole article I read this morning about how the automotive industry is making its biggest profits ever. The big autos are making huge profits. Car dealerships are making huge profits. Used car dealerships, and I'm sure there's definitely people out there in this industry to say, well, that's not so true. Well, the pandemic created huge profits for the industry. That's what I'm speaking of. Is it a lasting? Is it last? I don't think it'll last. But the whole point is everything was driven up during the pandemic, and the profits were seen that they had never seen before. And in some ways, if it's lasted, in my eyes, I think they've had a good 3-year run. So, so the point here is, with all this new manufacturing that this Inflation Reduction Act bill, aka the New Green Deal by Joe Biden, that pounds he mouths off every day on Twitter X about how great this Inflation Reduction Act is and how he is creating the most jobs ever in this country and how the better this country is going to be, the best of ever under his presidency. And the list goes on and on and on. He brags every day about all the great things that he's doing for his country. And I think to myself, wow, once the dust settles and all these manufacturing facilities have actually been built and are actually now in production. And I talked about it here the other week. The UAW is trying to negotiate by September 4th, I think, or 14th, whatever the date is, new labor compensation. And the automotive guys to the union guys are on two different pages on trying to come to closure what's going to be the future of these union laborers on the floor building cars for the future of the country of electric vehicles. And so that just that example there shows how much money it's going to cost automotive manufacturers to make these vehicles, which then in turn turns around and costs you and I even more money without even the marking it up greed of these big auto guys. It's going to be more money just because of the infrastructure, because you think it through. The U.S. Steel is going to be, here's a concern. If Cleveland-Cliffs buys U.S. Steel, it's going to turn into one of like the biggest steel suppliers in the country, which so many feel will then control the steel prices even more so than ever, which is going to mean more expensive steel for the manufacturing of vehicles and batteries and semiconductors. They're refining all the metals at these steel. Just because it's steel, it can be aluminum. It can be different things that they're manufacturing. So you just use that business model of the greed of everybody's already running for the U.S. Steel potential buyout, where that's going to go, and so you think to yourself, wow, how is anything going to get cheaper by any means, and everybody's payments are going to continue to even get bigger? But how does the ratio stay? Well, they're saying right now that when you used to buy a car, you took like 34 weeks of the average person's income to pay for the car. Well, now it's like at 44 weeks or something like that. So now with the 30% increase in car pricing, used car prices, new car prices, the list goes on, and the affordability of cars for average person is just evaporating. And so anyway, going back to the Asian market, looking at what they're getting ready to witness, expensive labor, then everything else follows along with that. In our country, I think it's going to be very challenging for the manufacturers to find help in this younger generation. And even in order to do that, they're going to have to provide very healthy compensation packages. And here's what's really interesting. Here at UPS, as everybody knows, Yellow Freight right now is trying to sell all its assets to Estes Trucking Company for like $1.3 billion. And they're saying if they can do that, they can sell their terminals and land and infrastructure, that they can pay back that $700 million monies that was given by the government during the pandemic. So there's a glimmer of hope for the taxpayers that if they sell their assets to another major trucking company, they will settle the debt to not be involved in the bankruptcy, I guess. I don't know how that all plays out. That, to me, gets a little more creative, and I don't know. So anyways, but here's the point about the trucking shipping industry. Here's UPS that just the union got a very nice package for their workers to make more money and have better benefits and compensation and work hours and la la la. And so here's what really intrigued me to say this morning. Here I've read that Amazon during the pandemic took a time out from being a universal shipping company. Amazon years ago got into the shipping business, not only for Amazon, but for other, anybody that needed products to be shipped. Well, just last week, Amazon has announced they're now back into the universal shipping. Amazon now is going to be directly competing with UPS. Wow. So you think to yourself, did Amazon wait for this new union deal to come to play out, where they saw that it's going to create much more expensive shipping costs? And for Amazon, they could toe heel on that, number one. And number two, could they undermine UPS? There's always been speculation that, I can't remember if it was UPS, I don't know if it was the speculation, well, Amazon could just buy out UPS. And then sometimes you think to yourself, for all the money Amazon spent for the infrastructure of their own delivery system, they may have been better off just buying out UPS. But maybe they saw they need UPS and their delivery system just to just to bring everything full house. So that'll be interesting. Does Amazon start undercutting UPS? Well, all of a sudden, you go a year, 2 years from now, UPS raise their hand going, wow, this union package is killing us. That's what the yellow freight lines are claiming, that their union package killed them, and many other variables to all that. So, wow, the payment plan. Who's on the payment plan? I mean, I would venture most people are on the payment plan. Why do you go to work? To get paid. That's the payment plan, right? I mean, for everybody that goes to work, you're on the payment plan. Because you need to be paid so you can make your payments for your house payment, your car payment, electric bill, cell phone bill, insurance bill, gym membership dues, motorcycle, boat, RV, your savings, your investments. Let's go through the roof of what you need your payment to make payments for other things. But I think that right now we're getting ready to witness potentially the biggest increase in payments more than ever in our lifetime, because of what I just talked about on how the labor isn't going to be cheap. It's going to be extremely expensive, and we're bringing everything domestic side now. And I think it's going to be even more expensive. Who's going to be able to afford this stuff? I mean, is this just a total business model of collapse beyond collapse we're getting ready to witness? I mean, wow. Well, anyways, hey everybody, thanks for watching my channel. And yeah, I got to go make money so I can make my payments to keep my toys. Yeah, right. So appreciate all the support, comments, and as always, God bless, stay safe, stay tuned. What are we doing next? Have a great day.